digital contents every day, like video, audio, and PDF documents. Digital contents always face issues of ownership, content integrity, theft, and access. There are costs and time associated with validating and securing the integrity of our digital contents. With the blockchain technology, we can now check the integrity of our digital contents in seconds with no issues about data security. Up until now, we could store content on centralized servers, and they remain vulnerable to cyber attacks and data heists. Privacy remains a challenge. We present the first smart digital content protocol solution that relays content asymmetrically. Litafi. The Litafi protocol was developed on the blockchain with a decentralized storage system. Litafi offers 100% privacy, 100% security, 100% transparency and immutability to individuals or organizations storing content on the platform, and can verify the integrity of the stored content anywhere, any day, at any time. The cryptographic digest of digital content is generated and verified together with a holistic presentation of the content. Welcome to the new age.
Mcash is the fast, easy, safe, and convenient way to pay for goods and services from your bank account using your mobile phone. To pay, simply dial *402* seller code *amount hash. No need to carry cash. Just use Mcash today. Available through all licensed banks and mobile operators. For inquiries, call 0800 275 64277.
Mcash.
No cash.
No wala.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring this band. Okay, hello baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait, stop. Okay, you lean to your right. Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes. Your arms here. Keep going. You are here. Wow.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no Adam got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on, so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
The modern world interacts with digital contents every day, like video, audio, and PDF documents. Digital contents always face issues of ownership, content integrity, theft, and access. There are costs and time associated with validating and securing the integrity of our digital contents. With the blockchain technology, we can now check the integrity of our digital contents in seconds with no issues about data security. Up until now, we could store content on centralized servers, they remain vulnerable to cyber attacks and data heists. Privacy remains a challenge. We present the first smart digital content protocol solution that relays content asymmetrically. Litafi. The Litafi protocol was developed on the blockchain with a decentralized storage system. Litafi offers 100% privacy, 100% security, 100% transparency and immutability to individuals or organizations storing content on the platform, and can verify the integrity of the stored content anywhere, any day, at any time. The cryptographic digest of every digital content is generated and verified together with a holistic presentation of the content. Welcome to the new age.
Mcash is the fast, easy, safe, and convenient way to pay for goods and services straight from your bank account using your mobile phone. To pay, simply dial *402 seller code amount hash. No need to carry cash. Just use Mcash today. Available through all licensed banks and mobile operators. For inquiries, call 0800 275 64277.
Mcash. No cash.
No wala.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay. Hello, baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait. Stop. You okay, Lucy? You alright? Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad man got you before me. In your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on, so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
King of banking in Africa, think Zenith. In today's fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into realities now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Modern world interacts with digital content every day, like video, audio, and PDF documents. Digital content face issues of ownership, content integrity, theft and access. There are costs and time associated with validating and securing the integrity of our digital content. With blockchain technology, we can now check the integrity of our digital content in seconds with no issues about data security. Up until now, we could store content on centralized servers and they are vulnerable to cyber attacks and data heists. Privacy remains a challenge. We present the first smart digital content protocol solution that relays content asymmetrically. Litafi. The Litafi protocol was developed on the blockchain with a decentralized storage system. Litafi offers 100% privacy, 100% security, 100% transparency and immutability to individuals or organizations storing content on the platform, and can verify the integrity of the content
safe and convenient way to pay for goods and services straight from your bank account using your mobile phone. To pay, simply dial *402 code *amount hash. No need to carry cash, just use Mcash today. Available all licensed banks and mobile operators. For inquiries, call 0800 275 64277.
No cash.
No wala.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Madam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait, stop. You okay, lean to your right. Walking down. Keep walking to the left, yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my case.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you network to rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
King of banking in Africa, think Zenith. In today's fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in all financial centers across the world. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Modern world interacts with digital contents every day, like video, audio, and PDF documents. Digital contents always face issues of ownership, content integrity, theft, and access. There are costs and time associated with validating and securing the integrity of our digital contents. With the blockchain technology, we can now
human efforts and biomass as source of energy to the use of fossil fuel and the mechanical power accompanied with it. This was evident with the introduction of the locomotive trains. The second industrial revolution predominantly featured the introduction of wired and wireless forms of communications and breakthrough in electricity distribution. The United States was the primary benefactor of the second industrial revolution as they secured their quote-unquote world power status as a result of positioning themselves to reap the benefits thereof. We could agree that the era which brought a lot of countries, organizations, and even individuals to light was the third industrial revolution. This brought about developments in computing power and vast changes in communication requirements of these technologies and how they can be applied to gain comparative advantage, provide solutions to their developmental struggles. Sadly, Africa did not take part in the first industrial revolution as well as the second. Indeed, most of the third industrial revolution almost us by. We are now enlightened and aware of the coming revolution and must therefore take advantage of it. As a country, we must position ourselves to leverage the benefits provided by the coming era to provide much needed solutions to our struggles and challenges. The government has a role to play for the smooth sailing and the seamless adoption and application of these new technologies and ways of doing things. We could agree that these technologies are not far-fetched, as they are already in use, even here in Nigeria. This goes to prove that we have to act fast so as not to let these opportunities pass us by. I am of the opinion that taking full advantage of this requires collaborative efforts on a PPP basis between the government, the private sector, and well-meaning individuals. It is to this effect that the government of Nigeria is committed to providing the enabling environment to ensure the smooth sailing of ICT initiatives and projects in Nigeria. We fully appreciate their benefits, and we currently are exploring various ways in which we can integrate technologies to provide better governance. It is a concern that in Africa, particularly in our country Nigeria, with such a teeming population raised with sound minds and innovative youth, there is not one organization that can be compared to the standard of Apple, Samsung, Huawei, Facebook, HP, and other renowned global ICT companies. The Nigerian government is committed, therefore, to encouraging the growth of indigenous ICT companies to move towards standard by providing policies that will help them drive their growth, the growth, or to help them to thrive. The federal government took its stand by signing an executive order number 003 titled Support for Local Content in Procurement by ministries, departments, and agencies of the federal government of Nigeria, which dwells mostly on the preference for indigenous goods and services, as well as the removal of bureaucracies which stall businesses. The local content order states that all FDAs of the federal government shall grant preference to local manufacturers of goods and services in their procurement processes for a number of items including food and beverages, motor vehicles, information and communication technology products, pharmaceuticals, construction materials, furniture and fittings, among others. The National Information Technology Development Agency, NIDA, has been charged to put measures in place for swift compliance by ministries, departments, and agencies to the executive order on support for local content in ICT procurement. We as the government are making efforts to ensure that Nigerian ICT products become viable and competitive. You can agree that for startups to thrive, there has to be structured environment that provides for adequate infrastructure, processes, funds, and mentorship. The Nigerian government, through NIDA, is investing in building IT hubs, incubation and acceleration centers in the country, partnering with private IT hubs to identify and accelerate innovative solutions, crafting policies and guidelines that
Fast, easy, safe, and convenient way to pay for goods and services straight from your bank account using your mobile phone. To pay, dial *402 seller code amount hash. No need to carry cash. Just use mCash today. Available through all licensed banks and mobile operators. For inquiries, call 0800 275 6477.
mCash.
No cash.
No wala.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay. Hello, baby. We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Forward. Wait. Stop. You're right. Keep walking to the left. Yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. You did it.
I'm just so... I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on, so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Thinking of banking Africa? Think in today's fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique needs. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world for easy, fast, and secure banking. Creates real value, turning dreams into reality in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Modern world interacts with digital contents every day, like video, audio, and media documents. Digital contents always face issues of ownership, content integrity, theft, and access. There are costs and time associated with validating and securing the integrity of our digital contents. With the blockchain technology, we can now check the integrity of our
impact of technology to do what we needed to do to move the country and the continent to where we're supposed to be. Africa would become the pride of the world. We are the pride. We are not second comers. It's no brainer. Forget what you're learning today. But I hope after this event, we are reignited to go forward and take our place as first citizens of the world and not second citizens. Well, without taking much of your time, permit me to invite to this side of the divide as we kickstart activities, a man who is the host of the event for today. He has had 2 decades and a half in the financial sector. He's an author, an advocate of continuous process improvement, former executive director, First Bank, a teacher, a leading authority in IT in Africa, pioneer chairman, board of InterSwitch, director of Nigeria Interbank Settlement Scheme, director Charms PLC, Northlink Insurance, one who holds a BSc in behavioral science, MSc in artificial intelligence, MA in economics, PhD in expert computer systems, a man who has written over 70 papers in international journals. I'm talking about no other than Dr. Evans Ejike Wohere, Chairman, Digital Africa. We can do better. We can do better. I mean, he deserves some accolades. He's given us an assurance that Africa will be better and will move to where we are supposed to be. And also to join him on the side of the divide is a keynote speaker for today. I took the liberty of going through to see who he is, even when I had not met him yet. He's a computer engineer by calling, smile can light up Africa technologically. Thank you so very much, sir. It's a privilege meeting you. And still coming to this side of the divide is a man who is an author, a life coach, the founder of Springtime Leadership Foundation, the senior pastor of the Transforming Church, Abuja, talking about no other than Reverend Sam Oye. You may clap better, or else you might withhold some knowledge from us today. You're welcome, sir. And of course, we have in our midst a representative from the land beyond beyond. Most of Nigeria's medical tourism ends in his country, and I hope after now we have to come to know where we merge and meet so that we have a 50-50. A home of very hospitable people, city of spices, talking about no other than the Egyptian Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mr. Shulbash Chand. Please, a round of applause. Sorry, that was the Indian High Commissioner. I'm sorry, the land of spice. I don't know why I went to Egypt. Maybe because it was the center. I said deputy. Because I know that Egypt was the hallmark of civilization for the world until some people tried to rewrite history. So welcome, Your Excellency. I apologize for that. And of course, when you want to get something done perfectly, send a woman. She will make it dot the I's, cross the T. applause from all of us here. We also have Honorable Ahmed Rabiu, Commissioner, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Kano State, who incidentally, please forgive me, is representing His Excellency, the Governor of Kano State. From the Kaduna axis, we have Alhaji Uba Sani, political advisor to the Governor of Kaduna State. And we also have in our midst the representative of the executive vice chairman of the Telecommunications Commission, Professor Omar Garuba Dambata, who is ably represented by Ms. Akiode Fumola, who is the Director, Licensing and Authorization of the NCC. Madam, I didn't see you stand up. I like to see women stand and stand firm. Please recognize her. Thank you so very much. Also on the entourage of the NCC, we have Mrs. Felicia Onwebutulam, who is the Director, Consumer Affairs Bureau. We have Mrs. Yetunde Akinloye, who is the Director, Legal and Regulatory Services. We have Mrs. Ismail Adediba, who is the Deputy Director, Consumer Affairs of the NCC. And we have Mr. Kumbo Oyeleye, who is the Deputy Director, New Media. Please, wherever you are part of Africa's rebirth technologically. Please, a round of applause for yourselves. It's now time to hear a brief remark from the chairman of this opening event, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, here represented by Hajia Hadiza Muazu. Short and simple, you can give a better clap for that. Thank you very much. We also have representative of the ED of Night Comsat Limited. That's the Nigeria Communications Satellite Limited. We have Honorable Samson Osagie, who is the Executive Director of Marketing and Business Development. And you want to know, whenever I hear a woman, I break into extra dance. I would like us to really make her feel love for being the first, because Africa is the first. I'm talking about the first professor of computer science in Nigeria, Professor Nike Oshofison. Woo! Woo! Woo!
6th year in which we are holding this event. And we believe we've come a long way. The very first one was here in Abuja. Then we went to Lagos. And from Lagos, we realized that similar events in other parts of the world have one city they've chosen as city of their location. So as a result of that, eventually we decided to choose Abuja. Since then, we have been here in Abuja. This is something that today, although it looks like a seed, but believe you me, you should start seeing an Iroko tree. The organizations that we are almost similar to, the CES in Las Vegas in the US, the CEBIT in Hanover in Germany, are all huge organizations. So by the grace of God, in the next 5-10 years, believe you me, this organization is going to become bigger and bigger, and hopefully will do Africa proud. Now, ladies and gentlemen, take a child. Some adults and other children could tell that child that you are no good, you are stupid, you are useless, you are not competent. And as a result of that, they could tell the child that, oh no, you are only fit to be a hewer of woods and fetcher of water. Now, if that child imbibes that negative comments on him or her, that child might grow up very, very regressed, very, very unachieving, very depressed, and so on. But if that child decides that, no, that's not who I am, that's not what I am, the alternative will be the case. Now, here in Africa, some of us are behaving as if we are really what people like Joseph Conrad said of Africans. Joseph Conrad, you know him, the author of The Heart, of the Heart of Africa. He said that the heart of darkness. He said that people that are based in Africa, the natives of Africa, are really more suitable for hewing of woods and fetching of water to the other continents of the world. Now, that of course is not who we are. By far, it's not who we are. If you look at what Africans have achieved in the past, if you go back to the likes of what happened in Egypt, the obelisks that were built there, the pyramids that were built there, the advances in mathematics, the advances in medicine, the advances in navigation, the advances in agriculture, not only in Egypt, the advances in astronomy, practically all over Africa. If you look at all that, you know that we are not just good for hewing, of woods. If you also look at what Africans are achieving, today in the other parts, of the world, take the U.S., African Americans, they are also Africans. If you look at much of what they have achieved there in terms of inventions, believe you me, inventions of a lot of things you and I use today as modern technology that were done by African Americans can fill up a whole book. And if you also look at what people like Philip Emeagwali, Nigerian, but there in the diaspora, he's there. It's like swimming in a much bigger ocean. When we go there, we are like in a much bigger ocean. We unleash our creativity, we unleash our talents. So it's here with us. We can do it. We just can do it. It's just that here, so far, we are behaving as if we have colonial shackles still around our legs and our hands. I have a friend who once we were discussing about development and the imperative of, us hastening development, having a sense of urgency with regards to development. And he said, well, if only they will allow us. And I'm like, if only who will allow us? He meant, the other parts of the world, especially the West, that they won't allow us to make that kind of progress. And I was like, no. India also was colonized. The kind of things that were said of us, they also said, it to a lot of, people there. But look at India today. In many ways, China, was also under bondage in different times to the Japanese, to the West, and so on and so forth. But look at China today. Within decades, they've changed the equation in China. We can do the same here in Africa. We can do the same. Although currently we are still behaving as if there are shackles around us that are debarring us from making, progress. We can do this thing. The other day, a few weeks ago, I and my wife went to watch the film Black Panther. I'm sure a lot of you also watched it. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all. It was a wonderful film depicting an mythical African country, Wakanda, who discovered a precious metal called vibranium that was put there as a result of the falling of some meteors, and as a result of how best they were able to exploit the vibranium. They were able to have technologies that are a lot better than the technologies that you find in other parts of the world. It became a case in which that African country had a lot to teach the rest of the world than the rest of the world could teach her. Now, to my dismay, I have not seen newspapers discussing this, the implications of this. Here in Nigeria, there were a little in a place like Kenya, but much of Africa, no discussions at all. No government, comments, on it. To me, that film made a lot of us to feel good about being, blacks, about being Africans. Yeah, it talked about country in Africa that had more technology than the rest, of the world. And this was where Africa was, in the past. To me, we can restart that again, and hence this conference. This conference is basically taking a look. That's the reason why the theme is called Africa's Tech Renaissance. It's basically taking a look at our past so that we can realize where the race said to beat us, pushed back, and made us to become a laggard with regards to the table of ranking of the world in terms of rankings, science and technology rankings, and in terms of economic development. As a result of that, we believe that something needs to be done urgently. As I said, it is doable. It is even more doable today as a result of the technologies of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Africa was bypassed by the First Industrial Revolution, in which things like steam mills were developed, were passed by the Second Industrial Revolution, in which we started automating a lot of things. Mind you, the First Industrial Revolution, one of the things that was also highly developed then was electricity. In our cities today, there are still so many places that still don't have electricity, that have not even caught up with the First Industrial Revolution, that have not caught up with the Second. They have not even caught up with the third, which was when personal computers started permeating the world. Yeah? And we are being told that there's a fourth industrial revolution, and this revolution is being driven by technologies like drones, like robotics, like cloud computing, like data, big data and analytics, like virtual reality, like virtualization, like augmented reality, like artificial intelligence, like machine learning, and so on and so forth. There are more than 36 of this type of technologies. And we are told with these technologies, most of the time, you don't have to go back to make sure you have capabilities in mechanical engineering, in electrical engineering, in other kinds of fields of engineering, yeah, before you'll be able to capitalize on them and change your society. You can leapfrog. We can leapfrog development with regards to our education. We can leapfrog development with regards to agriculture. We can leapfrog development with regards to how we run our industries. We can leapfrog development with so many of our economic sectors. We don't have to go back and start, from, beginning. Yeah? Hence, we are here. And hopefully we'll use this opportunity to discuss what really happened, how we lost it, and how we can use the technologies of today, the opportunities that are created by, especially the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution, to leapfrog development. Now, I would like to thank the VP, His Excellency the Vice President, for, even though he's not here in person, taking what we are doing very seriously and asking the Minister of Communications to be here. I also like to thank the Minister of Communications, sir. Thank you for the passion you have for information technology and the kind of leadership and guidance you've been providing, to us. Yeah. The PAMSEC, sir, thank you very much. You've also, been there, for us and for the industry. Thank you. Yeah. My friend and brother, Demola, one of the doyens of the IT industry, right from the beginning he was there. Even when the likes of IBM decided to leave Nigeria, he was there still spearheading the industry. And look at what he's made of the industry today. Nigeria's IT industry, in many ways, have even come, of age. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. The the Deputy High Commissioner of the Indian Embassy here, thank you, for coming. The representative of Governor of Kaduna State, please, thank you, for coming. Reverend Oye, thank you. You've always inspired me each time you speak. Thank you for being here. Although he's not been mentioned yet, but everybody knows he's one of the doyens of the IT industry. Chris Uwade. My brother, thank you for coming. He's one of those carrying, the IT industry and making sure that people listen to all those things we need to do to make sure, that things, happens. Yeah. There are so many others, here. Professor, thank you, thank you very much. Alhaji, my brother, thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, you are all, welcome. I am very honored and pleased that you're here today to grace this occasion. It's a 3-day event. Please, a lot are going to be discussed because we need to move this our nation and this our continent, forward. Now, by the way, each time I talk about Africa, because just like the ruler of Dubai says, his vision for Dubai is not just for Dubai or for the Emirates, it's for the whole of the Middle East. If we also want to develop Africa, it's not enough for just African country to concentrate on itself. It's for the whole Africa. The whole Africa, when we are able to develop the whole of Africa, then really starts happening in this continent. Now, but we do that. It's not because we also, don't want to make sure we first clean up our own local environment, which is Nigeria. When we talk about Africa, we are even talking mainly about Nigeria, because mind you of what Nelson Mandela said. Nelson Mandela, the great Nelson Mandela, said that if Africa wants to develop, in fact, that you can kiss development for Africa bye-bye, unless Nigeria is developed. So when we are talking about the development of Africa, we are even talking primarily, even more so about the development of Nigeria, because Nigerian development will spearhead things, not only for Africa, but for the rest of all those places that you find Africans. They will become proud of what we have done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You're all welcome.
I believe he deserves a better round of applause. Imagine the vibranium of softwares, vibranium of apps in Nigeria, developed from different hubs. Vibraniums of not just the theory, but we're talking practicals and vestibles, deliverables that we can take into the world from a country of 1.83 million people. Africa would be the better for it. Thank you so much, sir, for a speech well delivered. Before we move to the next item, permit me to say that the representative of the Vice President did not come alone. No be only him waka come. He came with delegates from the Ministry of Communications. We have the Director of ICT, a woman, Mrs. Moni Udo. We have the Director of E-Government, Mr. Tokpe Fashidemi. We have the Director, Radio Frequency Monitoring and Project, Engineer Kili Binga. And we also have a member of the Local Organizing Committee of Digital Africa 2018, drawn from his ministry, Dr. Patrick Oguma. Please, a round of applause. We also have in our midst the Director General of NOTA, Dr. Dang Azumi Ibrahim. Dr. Dang Azumi Ibrahim. And of course, we have a representative of from the road safety. So I'll get your name. I've seen your uniform. I'm going to get your name correctly. I had it before, but it would seem Wakanda. These things just go like that. So please, I'll come with your name. Thank you so very much. Now move to goodwill messages. That's the next item before our very erudite pastor. Everybody say, oh yeah. You can talk. Please let me hear, oh yeah. You know, that's an O-Y-E, Nigerianized, and then you would hear him talk. And when you hear, oh yeah, the Reverend talk, you'll know why you are here. But for now, let's have goodwill messages. First from the Executive Director of Charms PLC, Mrs. Funke Alomo Olua. Mrs. Funke, where are you, please? A round of applause to her. As in Omo Olua that she is, we can do better. And directly after her would be Mr. Biodo Biodo Omoni, who is the MD VDT Communications. But first, please let's hear from you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocol duly observed. It's a great pleasure to participate in this year's Digital Africa Conference. And this year's theme, Africa Tech Renaissance, is of very importance to us because it speaks to a rebirth of Africa technological inclinations. We'd like to congratulate Dr. Evans, the visionary, for his foresight in putting this together on a year-on-year basis. And we also like to congratulate the team for their doggedness in putting together an intelligent crop of speakers. By the time you look at the brochure that has been given to you, and you wonder how on earth were they actually able to get this number of speakers, not just their numbers, also their quality. And since inception, by God's grace, we've always participated in this, and we aim to continually participate. And we always look forward to coming to Digital Africa, not just to participate as a company alone, but also with some of our participants. We congratulate all the participants for being part of this great occasion. We've had privilege to be part of since inception, and if this is your first time, I can tell you that you will not regret your coming. The 3 days that you'll be spending is going to be very worth it. Congratulations to everyone for a successful outing. Thank you, and God bless.
In the spirit of keeping it short and simple, please permit me to officially recognize the representative of the Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Commission, who actually employs technology to make a difference in road safety and management. Assistant Corps Marshal Victor Nwokolo, please, sir. And it's now time to hear from the MD of VDT Communications. Please, a round of applause for him. There's something about people in the ICT. They always look so serious.
The Honorable Minister, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and members here present, it gives me great joy to be here this morning, as we've always been, and also to congratulate the Digital Africa team, led by Dr. Evans Werem. I congratulate you for putting today's occasion together again. You've been tireless in seeing the growth of technology in Africa. And just like you said, it all starts from Nigeria. We need to actually make it work in Nigeria. But I would just want to say something about the theme of this year's conference, Africa's Tech Renaissance, which becomes a rebirth. We looking back and trying to see the leader, how come we become the laggard? Where did we miss the road? So this year's theme is quite apt, a rebirth. And there is really no technology without humans. So it's about what we desire. We use technology as a tool right from the primitive age, before we started counting the first industrial to the fourth industrial revolution that we had as a team last year. So I want to think and say, maybe we start from our mindset. I'm always quite elated whenever I come to this conference, year in, year out. And we are very proud to be a sponsor from the beginning of the conference because of the diverse population and quality of people. We see a lot of decision makers here, a lot of policy makers, and I say so it comes to our mindset. We can do attitude, but it goes also beyond that. And how do we formulate policies? How do we in decision-making processes, especially the government people, how do we create an enabling environment for the practitioners? Many of us truly are practitioners, but our mindset needs to change. I'm quite happy that when the MC was reading about the profile of Dr. Werem, he had his first degree in behavioral sciences. I believe whenever we're talking technology here, we should also be talking about the mindset of the people. And the mindset needs to be collaborative. It needs to also be that promotes activities, that provides opportunity, and at the same time gives support. Support could be in making sure whatever we are going to actually decide on is actually should be such that creates opportunity to the larger populace. It's only when we have need that tools generate that we can actually develop. A situation where there is no opportunity but no enabling environment to actually develop technology, I mean, there will be short-sightedness among the people. I believe we do not lack the knowledge in Nigeria, neither do we lack it in this hall. So I want to say, well, we start by actually changing some of these one at a time by changing our own mindset, changing our behaviors to making sure that we create that enabling environment, and then we actually provide support for the development of a viable technology in Nigeria. So to this end, I want to congratulate the team, Digital Africa, and say we all look forward to a successful outing once more, and with the crop of dignitaries present in this hall and on the stage, I want to believe the Renaissance has just started. Thank you.
The Renaissance has just started indeed, and it all begins with you and I. It all begins with when you send your child to the NDA and they say, "Eh, shebe," you say, "No, we should change that language. We are not apes and we don't need to obey." The language has to change, because what you hear every day, you end up believing. So please don't let anybody tell you, "Apes obey," and you say, "Hey," because you're not an ape and you don't need to obey. But you can say, "Recruits obey," and we say, "Hey." Thank you so very much. What would it be if I don't hear from the Deputy High Commissioner? My experience in India, I ate chapati until I was like this. When I came back, they asked, "But you went for a diversity course. Why are you looking so blossom?" And I said, "Because my name is not Gloria anymore, it's Blossom. Please accept me the way I am." Beautiful land of cuisine, great hospitality. We had to come to an understanding when I was in your land that Nigeria has a story, just like India has a story. And it might not be the same, but we share points where we need to collaborate. Please join me in welcoming for a little goodwill message. I know he won't want to say too much. The Deputy Indian High Commissioner, to Nigeria, Mr. Chan.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, dignitaries on the dais, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, all protocols observed. A very good morning to all of you. I am greatly honored to be here this morning. Greatly honored to represent my High Commissioner, His Excellency Mr. B.N. Reddy, who incidentally is also attending one of the functions being presided over by the Honorable Vice President. Today is the World Environment Day, so there was another function, so he is there. So he asked me to come and attend this function. Thank you very much. I would like to congratulate Dr. Evans for organizing this 6th edition of Digital Africa. I know this century belongs to Africa. There is no doubt about that. You were mentioning about the African heritage. A few years ago, I was in Ethiopia, and there is a place called Lalibela. And in Lalibela, there are 11 rock-hewn churches. They are carved out of one single rock. And all of them are UN heritage sites. And 5 years ago, the population of the place was 30,000. And these churches were built 1100 years ago. Who built them? You know, that is a superhuman effort, which means, you know, Africa has great potential. And I have no doubt that this century belongs to Africa. And with the Honorable Minister, who is very passionate about his subject, I am sure Africa and Nigeria is in very safe hands. And I wish you all the best. As far as India and Nigeria are concerned, we are the largest trading partners for each other. Nigeria is our largest trading partner in the whole of Africa. And India is Nigeria's largest trading partner in the whole world. So we have achieved much, but there's so much that we can do together. And I am very happy to say that we are doing it already. Recently in India, International Solar Alliance took place. That was basically in the field of solar and renewable energy. And France and India were the hosts for this event. And after this event was over, Nigeria has been offered $75 billion lines of credit in the solar field. One, there's a 50 megawatt project, solar project in Bauchi State. And to all the 6 political zones of Nigeria, there'll be one photovoltaic micro utility unit in each of the 6 political zones. So, and there's $100 million worth of line of credit for 3 power projects, one in Kaduna, other in River State, and the third one in the Enugu State. Apart from that, there are many capacity building programs where about 300 Nigerians are taking advantage of those. And ICT is one of the programs where Nigerians go and attend. So there's so much we can do together, and we stand solidly behind the Nigerian government in their efforts to achieve their goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being our largest trading partner. Thank you for standing behind us. Thank you for coming beside us so that we move hand in hand to where we're headed to. Please, a round of applause. Everybody say, oh yeah. A life coach, mentor to many. Dynamites come in tall packages, no longer small. He has a way of telling you what you should do with your life, and if you listen and decide not to stay behind, but to move forward, you are really going to get forward. For our keynote presentation, please bring those beautiful, dainty hands of yours together as we welcome the founder, Springtime Leadership Foundation, and the senior pastor of Transforming Church, Reverend Sam Oye.
All right, this looks like a very tall order for me. When you hear that you have a professor from the university where you graduated from, you will have to be very careful lest your degree be revoked if you misbehave. Coupled with the fact that I studied geology, so I took a course in your department. Yes, Fortran. Incidentally, we didn't touch computer until we graduated. But we took the course. It's just that we didn't touch the computer, you know, sir. So, standing on all existing protocol, I want to honor the Honorable Minister, who is also doubling up for the Vice President, who is not here today. So nice to see the Honorable Minister again. I was with you at Vent Platform when it was opened. I also honor here in our midst all the other special guests who are seated. I don't want to go into mentioning names. Incidentally, when we're in the green room, so much has been discoursed, and I was listening about smart cities and the rest of that. And then also conversations began to tailor towards the recent elections in the United States. How did Donald Trump, you know, come about when everybody thinks or thought he was never going to make it? And it became very obvious in the end that social media played a very vital role. Because if you noted, during Obama's time, social media, and what they did in Obama's time was that they used what we call demographic survey. In Trump's time, he allowed Hillary to depend so much on demographic survey, which has to do with what is the voting population that is disenfranchised. And unfortunately for Hillary, she absolutely relied on what Obama used, which was to see that from 1976 down until when he came on board, there was this voter apathy, particularly among young people. So they decided that, look, based on analytics, again, they decided that why don't you reach out to the young people, since we know we cannot face the might of the Republican Party, particularly when the Republican Party chooses to bring on board factor of religion. So they decided to play the game to the young people. And that was what the theme for his campaign was called Trendy. I was fortunate to sit with his campaign in Virginia at the Center for Constitutional Studies in the United States. And he was talking to us about how these things work. And he also understand how that he had to fold his shirt, use his BlackBerry. It was all intentionally designed to reach the young people. Now, when it got to the time of Trump, Hillary decided to bank on that demographic survey, and Trump decided to move differently, reach out to analytical, and they came up with psychographic survey, which has to do with the mindset of Americans. And they realized that even those who were Democrats really didn't like the way Democrats were handling things. They played to the mind of the blue-collar workers, reached out to them in the interiors, working on their minds with people like Steve Bannon and those who are into the nationalist and populist movement. And all of that eventually led to a situation whereby Donald was making a statement, nobody was getting it. He kept on saying, I have my secret voting block. Nobody got it. But eventually everybody was shocked. You see, it is with that that I come to say this. If social media, ICT played a significant role, I will let you know that I can still play a significant role in Africa, in the development of Africa. And so to that end, I want to quickly just understand when it comes to African tech renaissance, one of the things that I found out was the fact that the word renaissance in itself actually captures the transitional period in classical European time, particularly in their historical moments between the 14th and 17th century, during which they had a major growth by virtue of the fact that there was a renewed interest in things like sciences, technology, arts, and literature. That moved up to a whole new dimension. Therefore, when it comes to this word renaissance that we have up there, so that doesn't sound like another big word. It's just another word for rebirth, meaning something was there before, it went wrong, can we bring it back again? Another word for it might be revive. Another word for it might just be to reawaken. All of this presupposes that Africa has the DNA in itself that can make Africa grow again? Let me put it this way. I happen to grow up in the States. I was born in Kaduna. I schooled in a place called Bauchi, even though my parents were from the West. And I did a little bit of farming. And one of the things that I noted was that close to my farm, I remember back in the 80s, there was this tree that was obstructing the path towards where we normally farm. And so one day I came back and I found that the tree had been cut from the trunk. And we were quite excited that this obstruction is forever gone. And a few months later, I noticed that some plants began to bud shortly after the springs began. And I said, what's going on here? Oh, and then it came to my mind that you can cut off the trunk, but if you don't take out, the tree will grow again. And that brings to this understanding that the root of technological development, creativity, and innovation is deep on the inside of us. We didn't need to go to any university, no MIT, no Harvard, no Oxford. We didn't need to go to any of that. It was in us. If you go to the Benins, you go to Edo State in the early days, you get to find out that craft, all of that was in us. How did we make the things that we make? How did we arrange the nuts in Kano? How did we arrange them in such a way that they shape that shape? There's no mathematical thinking. You see, the point is that we have looked down too much on ourselves, and obviously because somebody has told us, said, "Apes obey," I think it's time for us to tell ourselves we are not anymore. It's time for ourselves. We were the ones in Plateau, ones that cocoa in some part of Nigeria. We did all kinds of things to preserve them. Where are the Nigerians who did that? Our fathers may be gone, but their genes are still in us. And what that portends is that if the tree can have rain, even though it's been cut off, it will grow again. If we can have an enabling environment, the genes of our fathers that made us to build the things that we built in the years gone by, the genes are still in us. That's why if you come out of here and you take us to somewhere like America, we blossom again. It's all about the environment. And so I challenge everyone here today to begin to think about this whole concept on Renaissance. You see, because when you think about the word itself, African Renaissance, it actually has to do with predicting the future of Africa. It firmly affirms the fact that we African people and nations shall indeed rise out of the ashes of our wasted decades to overcome the numerous challenges confronting the continent and thereafter achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal. So African Renaissance actually is what leads to what we call African Tech Renaissance. So if you look at the phrase carefully, African Renaissance, which has to do with African rebirth, revival, reawakening, you see, it was first articulated by a man called Diop in a series of essays that he put together between 1946 and 1960, all of which are now put together in his book that is titled Towards the African Renaissance, Essays in Culture Development. You see, he made us understand that in order for Africa to grow, there needs to be what we call the African Renaissance Institute. Thabo Mbeki, the former leader of South Africa, decided to do something. He said, look, let's not just talk about African Renaissance. Let's not just talk about growth, reawakening. Can we put together some key elements that will define this Renaissance? I thought Thabo Mbeki did a fantastic job. Because again, Africans, we like cliches, we like fads, we like, hypes and the rest of that. He said, can we bring it down to the lowest denominator? What are the key deliverables? How do you know that Renaissance is taking place in a place? These are the key indicators. Number one, he said there will be social cohesion. Once there's Renaissance, there will be social cohesion. I don't see a Kaduna man. I don't see an Ogun State man. I see a Nigerian first. There's going to be social cohesion. There's going to be democracy. There will be economic rebuilding. There will be growth. There will also be the establishment of Africa as a significant player in the global space. Having said that, let me take it a little bit further by stating that in order to achieve what Thabo Mbeki has stated as the key deliverables, it is important for us to realize that technology is what's going to cause us to leapfrog to achieve all of those things almost at the same time. It is what technology can make happen. We don't have time anymore in Africa to wait until we do this, then after we do that, we then do the other. Technology has made it possible in such a way that you can be having all of them happening almost at the same time. We need to leverage on technology and leapfrog Africa into the Committee of Nations where it truly belongs. In his book, The African Renaissance History, Significant Strategy, Professor W.A.J. Okumu said this when they were commissioned the African Renaissance Institute in South Africa. He said, and I quote, "The most important role of the African Renaissance Institute now and in the coming years is to gather a critical mass," please take note, "of first-class African scientists and to give them large enough grants on a continuing basis as well as sufficient infrastructure to enable them to take meaningful problem-solving research and development applied to industrial production that will lead to really important results and economic dimensions, end of quote. Let me tweak it a little bit and make it more contemporary for our time. And I'll put it this way from my own personal quoting. He said, and I will rephrase, that the most important and primary role of African leaders in the public and private sector now and in the coming years must be to gather a critical mass of first-class African scientists and techites, Nigerian scientists and techites, give them large enough grants on a continuing basis as well as infrastructure, sufficient infrastructure, to enable them to undertake meaningful problem-solving research for economic transformation of the African continent in this digital age, which you call the gig economy. You see, with Africa's rising population of about 1.2 billion, which has been rehearsed over here, it is estimated that by 2025, a quarter of the global population aged 24 and below will be living, take note of that, that by 2025, a quarter of the entire globe of people living under 24 will be living in sub-Saharan Africa, thereby setting the stage for sub-Saharan Africa's population to be the youngest in the world by 2035. It's amazing to know that while Europe is talking about the shrinking in birth rate, we are talking about an explosion in terms of our young people. It is therefore critical to note that with that explosion comes an enormous workforce that can transform the entire continent from a third world to a first world like no other development has ever taken place on the planet called Earth. If only we will leverage technology. It will only happen if these young people that we talk about, if provided with the necessary skills, required space, the timely support, and continuous supply of basic infrastructure. I meet our young people. Let me give you an example of a young man called Uche, who is currently in Dallas. Uche finished from Kogi Polytechnic, where he studied something around computer. And then he came over to Abuja and he served, and I got to meet with him and started mentoring him. Eventually, he went to the United Kingdom for his master's. And after he was done with his master's, he applied for Game Store for a competition. And he came overall best, moved over to the United States. And Uche began to work with Cisco and the rest of them. Long short of it, I was with Uche about 2 years ago. And he said, "I'd like to take you to a project I undertook." And he took me to Parkland Hospital in Dallas, which is the 5th largest hospital in the entire world. And when we got in there, I said, "Why did you bring me here?" And he said, "Sir, I just want to show you what the boy you mentored has accomplished." I said, "What is it? Did you build this place?" And he said to me, "Sir, no." He said, "The entire ICT infrastructure of this hospital was designed by me for Cisco." He said, so much so, yes, so much so now that Cisco has adopted what he designed, and Cisco is now using that. It was so impressive that Citibank, whilst I was there with him in Dallas, Citibank called on him and they said, "You know what, young man, we'd like you to be our vice president ICT." That is a young boy from this particular country who happened to find an environment that made it happen for him. There are many Uches in our country. We may not be able to change the world, but if you create a space and just allow one Uche to blossom, you never can tell how many lives you can change. It's amazing to talk about Mark Zuckerberg, but there are greater than Mark Zuckerbergs in this country. If only given the right environment, if only given the right environment, great things can happen. You know, our young people are creative. Our young people are not lazy. Our young people are not indolent. Our young people are not backward. Our young people are not retrogressive. I meet them everywhere. Our young people carry wood, they carry stone. I was part of them, I'm still part of them. We work overnight. We don't study under normal conditions. We use lamps, we use candles. We stay overnight in schools to read. Given the same environment with our competitors, no wonder we're having scholarships abroad, because we now suddenly realize that the environment wherein we thrive is not a normal environment. Therefore, I want to quickly challenge us here to realize that because our young people are creative and innovative, why are they so? The DNA of their tech-savvy ancestors still stay on the inside of them. At this point, let me turn over to Dr. Evans and tell you that I join you. Wakanda. Wakanda. We can build it. Funny enough, as you watch Wakanda, it happens to be that the person behind the whole engineering was a young girl. When the man who came from the outside world saw her, and he said, "Who's this little girl?" And she just made a mess of him. Don't underestimate me. I'm an African child who's gone through so much trouble. My mother had to go to farm in order for me to go to school, so I carry upon me the burden of making my family work. We are Wakandas. We make things happen. All we just need is someone put us in that glass environment, create those computers, make sure the light is there. You'll be amazed what we can do. My Honorable Minister, sir, you have come into this country at such a time as this. Nobody has ever been saddled with the burden of the next generation of Nigerians like you. May I humbly submit, sir, that if you never accomplish anything in your lifetime, please do one thing for us. Create the space in all our geopolitical regions where our young people can go into, I'm talking about, sir, it won't cost you anything, my Honorable Minister. All you need to do, sir, is to use your political might. You just use your office to compel Chevron, to speak to MTN, to talk to Glow and the rest of them. Can they set up a technological space? They can afford it. Where our young people from low-income families but with creative abilities can be chosen from the best schools. My son is interested in robotics. I can send him to such a school. But how about children who can't do that? Must they give up their dreams and pick up a mechanic job because their parents can't afford it? A young boy very close to my building, he said to his dad, "Dad, I want to go and study aeronautic engineering." The father called him to the side. I said, "My son, change your dream." He said, "Because you're not the only one that I have, and it will cost so much to train you. I have others." How many are giving up their dreams to set up robotics? See our little kids, my Honorable Minister. Young people sitting down using rope to create planes that flies on our streets. Isn't somebody taking note of them? Sir, you have come into this dispensation at such a time as this. This is the only reason why, long after you have left government, young people will not stop coming to your house. Because of the impact you made before you left. I therefore challenge that we consider that as our noble venture. Let me tidy it up with the words of Maya Organ Famodu, a Nigerian American who once said, she said, the last frontier market is Africa. A young girl, she said, the last frontier market is Africa. You see, although it may seem slow now, Africa is now on the rise. It may look like it's very slow, but trust me, we're growing. Our future is irreversibly bright. The key is this. It is in your interest that you line up with the next generation. Otherwise, with or without you, they will become all that they were destined to be. It is therefore critical for you to line up with this next generation of Nigerian kids so that they will remember you in the narrative of our development. A critical mass of African techites are emerging all over the country. The creative and innovative roots of the African people is being revived from the locals in Rwanda to the diaspora in the Republic of Ireland. Progressive and proactive government in some African countries are now not only making policies or tech-friendly policies, they are not just doing that. What they are also doing is they are making available grants for startups. Hence, they are experiencing significant growth and development development from Mauritius to Seychelles to South Africa to Cape Verde, Rwanda, Botswana. Growth taking place because their government don't just make debt-friendly policies, they also make monies available. The educational sectors of these countries are not left behind. They have decided not to make an education to be the end, but education to be a means by which you accomplish an end. Why should we be sitting down in the classroom or in the Ministry of Education coming up with curriculum without consulting the industries that will be the end users? You see, our educational sector must reverse the sequence. To develop a curriculum, the way it has been done in progressive worlds is that to develop a curriculum now, you go to the end user, you go to MTN, you go to the automobiles, you go to the tech industries and say, what kind of skills do you need? And those are the skills that we develop curriculum around. Why use an analog curriculum to develop children for a digital age? As I close with these few words, think about this. Our educational sector, recent research has shown that there are 4 major skills that will define the jobs of the future. Number 1 is critical thinking skills. Number 2 is creative thinking skills. Number 3 is interpersonal relationship skill. Number 4 is communication skill. Our schools must begin to focus on creative thinking skills. Stop dumping notes on kids and asking them to reproduce them. You are destroying their creative thinking abilities. It's time to engage the mind of our children. The private sector is not left behind. We celebrate all of you, our tech chairmen, wonderful people who are doing great work with the tech industries. I will celebrate you. And you know, Andela, who are taking our young people and turning them over into mighty software engineering guys and gurus. I want to say that we need more private sector involvement in driving the whole of this, creating hubs where our young people can go to practice, so that our young people can take advantage of what we call the technology value pyramid, which includes becoming pioneers, strategists, becoming solution providers, service enhancers, and ICT educators. We can do it. We can do it. Africa, we did it before. We can do it again. Let us remind our children as we live here. Tell them that we built the boats that sailed across the oceans before Europeans began to sail across the oceans. Remind our children, tell them that we developed vaccines that brought an end to yellow fever. Tell our kids that we did that. Tell our children that we were the ones that developed the CAT scanner, the CT scanner. Tell them we did that. It may come in glossy white containers today. Tell them it came from a black mind. Am I talking to someone here? It's important that we tell our kids that we performed the first human-to-human heart transplant. Tell them we did that. Tell our children that we developed the first crystallographic electron microscopy technique that transformed 2-dimensional images into 3-dimensional. Tell them we did that. The world will not tell them. We have to tell them. We have to tell them. It's incumbent upon us to tell our own story, because nobody will tell our story better than we can do. The list goes on and on. Tell our young people that we did it before, we can do it again, with the government creating the enabling environment, the private sector driving the initiatives, schools preparing curriculums for the future, and families giving their children enabling environment. I see a new day dawning for Africa. God bless digital Africa. God bless Nigeria. And God bless Africa. Thank you so very much.
It's a standing one. It's a standing one. Don't be stingy. It's a standing one. It's a standing one. We did it before. We can do it again. We did it before. We can do it again. The time is now. Woo! Can you now say, oh yeah? Aha! Please have your seats. Woo! Ah. Oh my. I had given you pre-information that once he infects you, you cannot be the same again. The virus is called, oh yeah. It needs no cure. Just keep it there. Let's keep it on. Sam, the Reverend, the doctor, the coach, the man. Please permit me to conscript myself to your family. What did Uche do to me? Uche is my brother. If you did it to Uche, you can do it to Laurie. Oh my. And he can do it to you too. So this is a public thing, and you've nodded yes. You can't say no anymore. Whoa. In our midst is a representative of where civilization started from. Forget US. It's a lie. It was in Egypt, on the continent of Africa. We didn't need Wakanda Vibranium at that point to do it. It just happened that way. I'm talking about no other than the ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt to the Federal Republic of Nigeria in Africa, His Excellency Asir Mohammed Hanifi El Saifi. So let's now go straight to the product launch for Charms PLC, and it's going to be handled by Mrs. Funke Alomo Oluwa. Mrs. Funke, please. Thank you very much. I think she's still recovering from the OA virus.
The Honorable Minister, members of the table, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with great humility and pride that I introduce our e-government suits to you. And based on the good job that Reverend Sam Oye has done, he has laid the foundation. He's spoken extensively on enabling environment for development of entrepreneurs. And he has actually, so what I want to talk about now is he has raised the dust of what the Honorable Commissioner needs to do. So what I want to do now is to give a tool to the Honorable Commissioner that we actually, I'm sorry, to the Honorable Minister that we actually help him to be able to do this, such that it's not just that, oh, we have come here to talk, so that by the time we are coming next year, and the Honorable Minister can look at it and say that, yes, this and this and this were actually accomplished during my tenure. Charms PLC, it's about identity management and transaction systems. We provide intelligent business solutions. Next slide. So we'll be talking about our e-government suits, and yes, sir. Oh, you can't see. So what do? The Honorable Minister needs to see it because the tool is for him. Okay. Apologies for bothering you, sir. Thank you so much. Please permit me to wait for the lady to get to her seats before we continue. Thank you so much. So the e-government suite offers a broad range of biometric-based solutions that is able to integrate into various facets of government administrative systems and processes. Yet it's good to come here today and talk about it, but we know that as much as the government is trying its best to be able to diversify the income earnings, but as of today, they still play a great role. So it's important that we actually look at what government is doing, and at the same time, how can we help them better? Nigeria ranked 145 out of 190, improving by 24 points from 169 in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index. This, for us to be at 145, while Reverend Samuel was speaking, he said, technology is already in us. If you look at the bank industry, so many people abroad, they still use checks. But in Nigeria, a lot of people do transfers today, through even the market woman can afford to just do USSD and money gets transferred. So it's obvious that this is already in us. And one thing I've come to realize about Nigerians is, if there's anything we decide to do, anything we make up our mind to do, and make it happen. We've made it happen in terms of banking, such that the Nigerian banking industry is far, far ahead of US, ahead of UK, in some of the type of cards that we use today. Some of them are still using magnetic stripe cards, and we are no longer, all that has been phased out of Nigeria. So if we can make that happen, can we also improve our ease of doing business index? And the solution we'll be talking about is that will actually help us to be able to improve it. The first one is the residency. The residency and citizenship is a solution that actually helps. It helps the country, it helps the state, so that they have a database of all the people in the states, and not just the working class. They also have a database of all the students, and on the basis of that, they can actually plan the development of the states. Now, with this database, a lot of things can now be done. Now, you can have a smart ID, have credit card, have debit cards. Today, people want to give people money, but you can't actually identify them. You don't really know who some of those people are. But with a residency ID, people are located and that can get done. Access control can also be used on it. It's also for the workers, staff audits and human resource solutions can also be done. We've done some of these things for some states in Nigeria, and based on that, they've been able to save a huge sum. So it's not as if on a monthly basis, payments are just being made, but based on the intelligent solution that we've deployed, the payments can actually be traced to the people. Now there's a dwindling government revenue, so our IGR Hub, which is an integrated tax system, tax management system, is also something that is being used by some states in order to be able to improve their revenue. And the IGR Hub has even gone far ahead of that, so that we now have a verification of things. So that there was a research when the VAIDS was actually launched by the government. One of the things they said is they looked at the number of people paying tax. And they looked at Lagos State, and it was shocking to say that there was no way they could count about 200 people in Lagos State alone that pays a tax of more than 10 million. And then you see all the big buildings, especially on the island, and you wonder why the owners of this, you see the big cars. So with the verification of things, that solution that we have, it's possible to actually link all those items, the houses, the cars, and the things that people have to them. That is leveraging on the database that we already have. Now, these solutions are not just for government. Some of them also find use in the private sector. Our seats and school register can also be used there. In my state, I'm from Ondo State, and we are known as people that are very intellectual. There was a report that came, and then we were told that the number of people graduating, that the number of dropouts between the primary and the secondary school, that Ondo State has the highest. And the governor said it's not possible. The commissioner of education said it's not possible. But you have said it's not possible. Where is the data to be able to show that it is not possible? So if government has paid for a certain number of people, let's assume government has paid for about 5,000 children to write the exam that helps them to move to the secondary school. Now about 2,000 has moved to secondary school. What has happened to that 3,000? Nobody can account for it as of today. Our school register solution is a solution that any government in Nigeria can use, and on the basis of that, you can actually track the progress as people move from primary school to secondary school, from secondary to tertiary education. One of the things we've also launched recently is our voting application. The voting application has been successfully used, can be successfully used by Nigeria in its voting system. Of course, there were some votings, and then people will come and say, yes, I do not agree, I should have won, I should not have won. With a voting application, with the penetration of technology in Nigeria now, a voting application can be done in such a way that you don't even need to go to anywhere. From your house, you can vote. And then everything, we also have a verification engine that actually authenticates that you are who you are. And it's not as if one person is voting twice. And this solution is currently, has been used by CITN, is currently being used by ICANN election. So it's not a case where everybody has to fly with the bad routes. And I know that the government is working on improving the road. So it's not a case where everybody has to fly into Abuja or fly into Lagos just because we want to do election. We are talking about a government that is becoming more productive, where the people are actually more productive. And with that, in 5 minutes, you are done with your voting once you are a financial member. So this is something that can actually be used by ICANN, something that can actually be used by INEC. This is just to explain some of the things I've spoken about. Can we move to the next slide? So within the time that has been there, same for our pension verification solution. We learned that the pension fund gets missing and all that. With this solution, a pensioner, one of the methods I've known that people now use is that once the children have the mama has the ATM card or the man, all they just need to do is to go to the ATM and make sure that even though the person is dead, they can keep collecting the money. But with pension verification solution, it ensures that leakages can actually be reduced and most likely eliminated with the cooperation of government. So I'd like to thank you for listening. We've been able to do justice to this within the limited time that is allocated to us, and we have a booth outside, and I'm also around with some of our colleagues, and we'll be willing to attend to your inquiries on these things. Thank you so much.
I think your distinguished guests, I think you can return this way. Thanks so very much for listening. I'd so much like to vote without going to the polling booth, 2019 is round the bend, but will they accept? Who are they? Will I accept? Will we accept? Well, he's only coming back this way. Thank you so very much. Please, a round of applause for her. She did justice within the time limits given to her. It's now time to hear from the man with a brown cap. Omo Dudua Gangon, a pace setter, entrepreneur, philanthropist, managing director, pace. Before he took over from Charms, he was there. InterSwitch, you're doing first things and then just keeping it on the wraps. I'm talking about no other than the chairman, Smart City PLC, Sir Demola Aladekomo. Please, a round of applause to him.
The Honorable Minister, our very dear brother, ever smiling, Alaji Adebayo Shitu. God bless you. Ramadan Karim. His Excellency, the Deputy High Commissioner from India, thank you so much for coming. The Ambassador from Egypt, you are most welcome. Our Chief Host, Dr. Evans Woyureb, a great Nigerian. He's in it all in technology, and he's been there from day one. Thank you for your good works. The most beautiful lady from Kaduna. I thought there was a beauty contest. You're most welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, permit me to recognize two giants in this hall, because I stand on their shoulders. If a couple of things have been achieved through us, it's because of these two giants, Engineer Akisoya and Alaji Di Farouk. Please, I'd like them to rise up, and you give them a big round of applause. You can see that they are giants. So if I work for 30 years and I achieve a lot, it's because of these two giants. And I recognize some of my brothers, Biodomoni Tunjigafa, and also Funke Alumolua. My regulators and my sister, Professor Osofisho. and the oracle of our industry, Waje. Thank you so much for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, I like what has happened today. My job has been done by the person that brought us, Dr. Evans Woyire, who is also my boss on one hand, and also by the Reverend Sam Oye. They've actually taken care of my presentation. But I'm just going to summarize what you've said. I did not to you civilization started from Africa. I do not need to prove to you anymore. Almost from the habilis to Homo sapiens, the habilis that started 25 million years before Christ, up to 80,000 years that the Homo sapiens invented fire, all arose from Africa. From Northern Africa to Southern Africa, from Eastern Africa to West Africa, civilization started from Africa. Technology started from Africa. And you still have it, you can still see them. From the pyramids in Egypt, to the caves in South Africa, to Ethiopia, Kenya, to Nigeria, we do not need to prove anything that civilization started from us. And until recently, until 1475, that the Europeans, the Portuguese came to Africa, we had smart cities. We had technologies of transportation that are way beyond what you even have in Wakanda. My people used to travel hundreds of miles using technologies called Igbe, called Kanoko. We are able to go anywhere in the world within seconds using technologies that the white man did not understand. When the white man does not understand technology, what do you call it? Magic. But that same technology, we were invaded, we were annihilated, unfortunately. Benin City by 1878 to 1895 was completely annihilated. It was burned to the ground. By 1898, unfortunately, by 1898, all our artifacts that will have given you that history that you are asking for were all shipped to you. As of today, they are all in the museums, mostly in UK and the rest of Europe. If you're asking yourself, where is your history? Unfortunately, Benin City, just like out of our cities, were completely annihilated, obliterated by those people described in that last line, by one of them. The unfortunate thing that then happened to us, which the two speakers before me did mention, was slavery. We did have means of passing down our technologies. We had a means of writing our own history. Our people were taken as slaves across the ocean. Unfortunately, the skills, the technologies were all lost. The wars introduced by the conquerors after obliterating, after annihilating us, now became internal when slavery now started. What they couldn't finish, unfortunately, we now finish ourselves by aiding and abetting them and selling ourselves into slavery. We then had confusion. We then had a people that were confused after most of these things were taken from us. After our people were taken, our history lost, our technologies lost. We just couldn't do anything anymore. Unfortunately for us, we are still confused as of today. For those of you that are above probably 20, those people we can call adults, I call us a confused generation. No abusement. You first must realize the issues. You must accept them before you can get solutions. Why do I say we are confused? A little bit. For me, I'm probably one of the best in my generation. Very well trained, a lot of degrees, very well, by the grace of God, experienced in technology, worldwide, done this, done that, because of the giants that I'm studying on their soldiers and my colleagues that gave me the platform to do things. But I'm still confused. Why am I confused? When you speak to me, my native tongue is Yoruba. When you speak English to me, I take it, interpret that English into Yoruba, process it, then interpret it again to English, and now give you the response. I do not think in English. I think in Yoruba. And you very well know, in the process of interpreting, for me to even think, I've lost some of the words. By the time I finish thinking and reinterpreting it to say it to you, I'd be lucky for you to even understand me. The first thing the moderators, the annihilators took from us, our language. But fortunately, as has been proven, our children are becoming more adept, more skillful. They're as confused as us. So you take my grandchild today, she speaks fluently. She listens to you in English. She thinks English. She speaks English. And no wonder today, for our children out there, in Europe, in US, they're the best literate. They are the most accomplished all over. It is simple theory. Our children and grandchildren are going to be far better than us. They're going to succeed. I do not have any doubt in my mind because it's proven. Examples are watched. The Megalis of this world. The Uches of this world that he mentioned. The gentleman that spoke at this year's Harvard graduation commitment, a Nigerian born in US, from Nigerian mother, Nigerian father, the best in his class in Harvard. He's not as confused as I am. And if you look at the entire population of immigrants in US, Nigerians and Africans, top, which means that that DNA is still very much in us to achieve, to become the best in the world. And we shall be by God's grace. So very much we are on the rebound right now because that confused generation is going out. And it's part of history. Empires rise and empires fall. It's a law of nature. There was a time the Chinese were the greatest empires in the world. They fell. Very well documented. The Indians also pretty powerful. In another 10 to 15 years, the Chinese are coming back to become the world superpower, followed by India. Congratulations. America, as we know it, by all statistics, by all demographics, are going down. In another 5 years, they'll probably be at par, according to World Bank records, with China. By 10 years, they come to number 2. In 15 years, they come to number 2. That we are a major problem I have with us as Nigerians is we are apologists. We crucify ourselves. Why should that happen? We do not have any business understanding the Westerners' technology. I do not have any by not understanding it. It's not my native technology. English is not my native language. I have to learn it. I have to be as good as they are. I am becoming better than them. I'm becoming better than them. Not just the Molaladi Komobe, my children, my grandchildren. And you can see it all around